Good morning, students. In this video, we are going to see the topic biomolecules, which is coming under the unit cell biology and biomolecules. So, already we learned about the structure of the cell, and we understand that components of the cell is responsible for the particular function. The cell components are made up of collection of the molecules. So these molecules are called as a cellular pool. So it consists of both inorganic as well as organic compounds. So in the previous chapter, we studied about the structure of the cell as well as the structure of the cellular organelles, then the cellular membrane, cell wall membrane, cell wall, as well as the plasma membrane, then protoplasm theory, cytoplasm, everything we studied detailedly, and we know that each and everything is made up of that is organic compounds, as well as some of the inorganic compounds also is present in the cell. So this is collectively called as the cellular pool. So in this chapter we are going to study detailedly about these biomolecules. The organic compounds includes the carbohydrates, lipids, amino acids, proteins, nucleotides, hormones and vitamins. So these organic molecules, it will be remain in a colloidal form. What do you mean by colloidal form? It is somewhat some large molecules. It may be in the size of 1 to 1000 nanometer in diameter, which will be present in the aqueous solution. That is a watery solution. It will be a watery intracellular fluid. Okay, so this is a aqueous intracellular fluid, and some of them will be present in the non-aqueous place. It is not a watery solution. It will be like in the lipid membrane, cell wall. So these are all the things in a non-aqueous phase. The organic compounds may be present in the aqueous phase, or otherwise it will be in the non-aqueous phase. Coming to the inorganic compounds of the cell, it includes the salt, minerals, ions and water. So the cell maintains this pool, that is the cellular pool, which contains the organic as well as inorganic compounds. It can intake as well as it will be the eliminate these specific molecules by means of the plasma membrane. So if it is need means it will intake these molecules. If they don't want these materials means it will be eliminate these specific biomolecules. So by means of that plasma membrane, it will be semi-permeable. So when they require, that time it will be permeable. So when it is not required means it is not side. Already we know about the structure and components of the cell. So the components of the cell, it contains the organic as well as inorganic compounds. So how they are joined together in the sense in the form of 4 levels. The level 1 is called as a monomer. It is a single unit, single molecules. In the level 2, many single molecules join together to form a polymer condition. That is a macromolecule condition. Many monomers join together to form a macromolecule. In the level 3, this macromolecule become many macromolecules join together to form a supramacromolecules. That is supramolecules, many macromolecules. And the level 4, the cell organelle, or it may be on the whole it's a cell. For example, amino acid. Amino acid is a single substance. Many amino acids. So this is a level 1. So the single amino acid join together to form the peptide chain. That is the second level, peptide chain. Many peptide chain join together to form a protein. That is the third level. So this protein join together to form a plasma membrane. That is one of the cell organelles. So this plasma membrane is one of the part of the cell. So like this, sugars join together to form a cellulose, and this cellulose is made up of cell wall is made up of cellulose. So cellulose is contributing the cell wall. Then cell wall is the one of the organelle for cell. The same way, many nitrogenous bases, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, purine, like this many nitrogenous bases is a single monomer. They are joined together to form a DNA. Then DNA, many genes present in the chromosome. Then chromosome is one of them. It will present in the nucleus of the cell. Then it is a cell. So this is the way that is the components were arranged in the cell. The level 1, that is monomer, let us join together to form a level 2, that is the polymer, or otherwise it is called as a macromolecules. Then the level 3, many macromolecules join together to form a supramacromolecules. Then supramolecule join together to form a that particular cell organelles. Like this, many cell organelles join together to form a that is cell. So this is the components of a cell. So coming under the inorganic components, the minerals are important. The minerals are important for the growth. In case of plant or animals, it is essential for that growth. There are two types of minerals, that is macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients in the sense which is required in large amount. So large quantity we need that particular nutrients. So for example, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, sulfur and iron. So these are the minerals are called as a macronutrients because we record these molecules in a larger amount. Micronutrients means this is recorded only in a small or trace amount. For example, cobalt, zinc, boron, copper, molybdenum, manganese. So these are the essential for some enzymatic action, but they not need for in a large amount. So that it is called as a micronutrients. But they're essential. The presence or essential for the normal function, but the required quantity will be very less. So that it is called as a micronutrients. Manganese is one of the micronutrient, but it is required for the activity of the enzyme which is involving in the synthesis of oligosaccharide and glycoprotein. Then molybdenum is also necessary for the fixation of nitrogen by the enzyme nitrogenase. So these micronutrients are doing very important role in the body metabolism, but they record only small trace amount. So that it is called as micronutrients. Next to the minerals, we are going to focus the second inorganic compound, water. Water is most abundant component of living organism because the 70% of the human cell is consist of the water. In the most of the plant cell, 95% is consist of only water. So water is the important one. We can't imagine the life of an earth without water. So this is the picture of percentage of biomolecules in a cell. So in the cell, it is a normal typical cell. In the cell, 70% is made up of water and 30% is consist of chemical. So in this 30%, 15% is proteins and 4% of small molecules, 6% of RNA, 2% of phospholipids and 1% of DNA and 2% of polysaccharide is present. So in a human cell, or it may be any cell, if it is a living cell in the sense, it consists of major amount only the water. So water is an important inevitable link, inevitable one. So our life of an earth is linked to the water. Now we are going to see the chemistry of water. So water is a tiny polar molecule. So it consists of one oxygen atom and two hydrogen atom. Four pairs of electrons surrounding the oxygen atom. So in this four pair, two pairs are involved in the covalent bond with the hydrogen atoms. So we have two hydrogen atoms. So each pair will involving in the covalent bond with the hydrogen atom. The remaining two unpaired atoms, the free electrons, will be present in the backside of the oxygen atom. So this is called the electronegative. So this is the electronegative atom. So they have a cohesion property. What do you mean by cohesion? So water is attracted to the another water. So they are sticking together. So many water molecules are stick together by means of the cohesion, and they form as the structure of the water molecule. That is a lattice formation, like a network formation will happen. So this is the chemistry of water. Now we are going to see the properties of water. The first one is the adhesion and cohesion property. Adhesion means water is attracted to the other substance. Water molecule is going to bind to the it stick together to the other substance means that is called adhesion property. Cohesion property in the sense the water molecule is attracted to the another water molecules. So water is attracted to another water. So this stick together. This property is called as a cohesion property. So both adhesion and cohesion property is present in water. High latent heat of vaporization. That is the physical property. That means the heat required to change the one molecule of liquid at the boiling point and standard atmospheric pressure. So that means one molecule of water change பண்ணக்கூடிய heat எவ்வளோ amount of heat required ஆகுது அப்படிங்கிறத that boiling point as well as standard atmospheric pressure வச்சு we are calculating. So that is very high in a water. The next property is the high melting and boiling point. Melting point in the sense that is for water 0 degrees Celsius. So that ice cubes 0 degrees Celsius solid condition la irukkiradhu, it will be melted into the liquid condition. So that is 0 degrees Celsius. And boiling point in the sense that is 100 degrees Celsius. So liquid state la irukkiradhu boil agi it will become a steam. Water vapor மாறுது, that is 100 degrees Celsius. So the melting point and boiling point both are high in water. The next property is water is a universal solvent. What do you mean by that? It has the capacity to dissolve the more substance than any other liquid. So comparing to all other liquids, water has the capability to dissolve the more number of substance. So that it is called as a universal solvent. The next property is a specific heat capacity. That means the heat required to raise the temperature of the unit mass of a given substance by the given amount. That means the specific heat capacity in the sense one mass or one mass amount or otherwise a particular given amount la இருக்கிற அதோட temperature heat erase பண்ணுறதுக்கு எவ்வளோ amount of heat required ஆகுது. So unit mass of water molecules அதோட temperature increase பண்ணுறதுக்கு எவ்வளோ amount of heat required ஆகுதுன்றது தான் specific heat capacity. So the important properties of water is the first one is adhesion and cohesion property, then second one is high latent heat of vaporization, and third one is high melting and boiling point, and fourth one is universal solvent, and fifth one is specific heat capacity. So these are the important properties of water. I hope now you are clear about the importance of water as well as the chemistry and properties of water. Thank you, children.